Welcome to the Powercat Podcast, the original K-State sports show. Here's your host, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to this women's basketball edition of the Powercat Podcast as the K-State women went into Lawrence on Sunday and just absolutely dismantled the Jayhawks 91-64. Tim Fitzgerald with the nephew, Mr. E. Ethan, you were there. How well did K-State play in person? They look good on TV.
I mean, it helps when you're shooting 60% and even better from three, around 64%. But it wasn't just because they were hitting shots willy-nilly. They distributed the ball well. They shared well. They were up-tempo, forced KU into a lot of bad turnovers. It was a whole team victory. I mean, it wasn't just two players got hot. I mean, all 9 players scored 3 points or more today.
Yeah, I noticed they had 4 players in double figures. Jalen Glenn was the leader in the scoring category, 19. But she highlighted a stat here that was so important. She was 7 of 10 from the field overall with 4 assists. This might have been one of her best games of her career, but she was 5 of 8 from 3. And as a team, they were 15 of 23. Of course, Taryn Sides did her own damage in that department. But brother, when you shoot 15 to 23 from 3-point range, your poor opponent didn't have much chance.
Oh, no, and you bring up Taryn Sides. She was actually the worst from 3 today at 4 of 9, which is crazy because you would take 4 of 9 from almost any player. But she still hit big shots early in the first half. She had a big 3 when KU was closing in. She kind of put the nail in the coffin in the third quarter. KU hit a 3 to pull within, I think, 12 again, and then she hit a 3, and it was lights out after that. But Taryn actually played the most minutes of anyone on the floor today, and she had 8 assists, which led the team. Her game is improving way beyond the 3-point line. I mean, she's driving, she's distributing the ball well, which is good when you can bring in a backup point guard off the bench and she's going to score 15 plus points, drop 8 assists, and she's only a sophomore.
Yeah. This is a discussion we have on the men's side all the time. And in fact, my daily delivery for Monday is about Doug McDaniel being converted to more of a true point guard and having to learn that. Taryn Sides wasn't a point guard. Maybe she handled the ball, but she's been a scorer all her life. I mean, coming up through basketball, you wanted the ball in her hands. Now that she's at this level, at her height, she probably needs to be a true point guard that can also shoot the ball, doesn't she?
Yeah, I mean, early in her career as a freshman, she actually led the country, I think, through non-conference play and assisted turnover ratio. But I mean, no offense to Kansas high school level basketball, but going from 3A Phillipsburg to Big 12 play, you have it as a big gap for even someone as talented as Taryn. But she's now become one of the best 3-point shooters in the country as a sophomore. She's dishing out. She's had 12 assists in the last 2 games. She's not turning it over. She's a hell of a rebounder.
It's crazy.
I think at halftime today, she was the leading rebounder for K-State. I mean, you'd love to see that from Taryn, and she's not even the starter. You still have arguably an All-American starter in Serena Sundell in front of her. I mean, that's just when you have 2 all Big 12 level players, just one on the bench to come in, because Serena was in foul trouble today, and Taryn stepped up in a big way. And I mean, that shows in the score. I mean, Taryn played out of her mind today.
Yep. Combine that with Zy Walker and all the things she brings to the court. Kansas State's really secure with the ball. And they distribute the ball. They share the ball. These are the things that you need to do to overcome the loss of a dominant post player like Ayoka Lee. You got to play really good team ball, and they did. Every time they came down the court, it seemed like they were getting a good look at the basket. They were just breaking down that KU defense with team play. And, as I said, it helps a lot when you hit those 3-point shots, but a lot of those 3-point shots were wide open because of ball movement. It was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Glenn, if she gets her feet set, you might as well. It's a 3. I mean, Jalen, when she gets her feet set and isn't moving, she'll hit the 3. That's why she went off today, because the passing was so great. She got open, players found her. K-State had 26 assists on 34 made baskets. It wasn't just shooting a 3 late in the shot clock and it going in. It was you're assisting on almost 70% of your made field goals. I mean, not a lot of teams do that anyway. I mean, K-State held multiple teams this year to under 10 assists. So the fact K-State's pushing 30 without Aoka Leon is amazing and a good sign going forward.
Yeah, it really is. And, they've now got a couple games under the belt without Aoka. And there's a lot of things going on here. This is a rivalry game, and it means a lot to some of these players, including Taryn, who grew up in Kansas, as you mentioned. When you get up for your rival, you just, drive down the highway an hour and 25 minutes to get there, and then you play. But it is a rivalry. However, Ethan, does this show that they're capable of playing at an identity that might be a little bit different than when they have Aoka Lee, but not that different? I mean, they're getting some production out of their posts. They just seem built completely more adept at overcoming this injury and playing to a style that they can flourish without her.
100%. And I'll say, like you said, this is a rivalry game. I mean, anything can happen. But you throw in the fact Thursday night they played in another rivalry game and it went to overtime and they held on and won. Controlled the emotions after a big OT win against Iowa State to go to your arch rival in KU, dominate. I mean, that could have been a 40-point victory if they didn't just completely stop pressing in the fourth quarter. And then you also have to think, oh, we play TCU on Wednesday. That's another thing that could have been on their mind. I mean, It could have been like, oh, this KU team's, they're okay, but we had TCU on Wednesday. Instead, it wasn't even just the seniors that were like, it was Ziana, it was Taryn, it was all these younger players who had the mentality that one game at a time. It doesn't matter that we just played overtime a few nights ago. It doesn't matter that we have the biggest home game of the year coming up in a few days. We're going to Lawrence and we are going to just beat down KU. It's a really good mentality. It shows this team can do it with or without Aoka Lee.
It's pretty impressive. You mentioned that TCU game. We'll get to that in a little bit. But break down the performance of those players that have now picked up Lee's minutes. How do you assess how they're playing and how have they kind of compensated for the absence of such a dominant player?
Weirdly, last year without Aoka's showing dividends for the coaching staff. I feel they know more of what to, depending on the matchup, who to play against who. And today, Kennedy was great. 8 points in 11 minutes is great. You'll take that from any center. That's high productivity. She actually had her former school had the Blue Valley Northwest girls basketball team was in attendance cheering for her. So that was really cool to see. And then Maupin came in when KU was trying to do a lot of quick slip screens. They were trying to just run everything through the pick and roll. Maupin had 3 blocks within 3 minutes of being in. Then she was perfect from the floor, 3 for 3 with 2 free throws, 8 points. Can't ask anything more from her. And then Amani keeps getting more minutes. I wish she would have taken more shots in this game because she had the looks. But she had in 11 minutes, 5 rebounds, 3 points, and an assist. You take that from your third string center.
Yeah.
Maupin's great. I think Sanchez showed today how valuable she can be. 21 minutes, 5 rebounds, 7 points. I mean, the whole bench contributed. K-State had 32 bench points. I think KU only had 9. K-State only has 4 players on the bench they will play. So that's big. Kansas girls showed up. I think KU, the Kansas girls had 36 points combined in the rivalry today. So Ziana, Kennedy, Taryn, and Amani had 36 combined. So
impressive.
Yeah.
So they're leading at halftime. It's been a pretty good game. KU kind of had a bad ending to that first half, and it got opened up. And I'm thinking, okay, this could be interesting in the second half. But just like what we saw in the men's game against Iowa State on Saturday, the women came out in the second half and said, we're taking care of this. They scored 54 points in that second half. That's impressive. What did they do extremely well in that second half that just blew this game open? And like you said, it could have been a 40-point decision if they had kept the pedal to the metal.
Well, 9 of 11 from 3 in the second half. That'll help. That'll help a lot. Coaching staff did a great job with KU. KU was trying to run everything through the pick and roll. defense was stellar. They did a great job adjusting. They held Samia Nichols to only 9 points when she's averaging about 22 a game. It was, like I said, it was a team performance. Almost everyone had 3 points, a rebound, and an assist in this game. The only one that didn't was Tamira. Tamira did not register an assist. When you have 9 players that can come in and give you 3 points, a rebound, and an assist, that's good. And it helps when maybe your starters are a little tired. You can bring in a Taryn Sides, a Gisela Sanchez, and they'll give you a good 15 minutes and drop 7 points. It's just not a lot of teams will go 9 deep and play that well. It's really rare, and that's what makes this team still dangerous, even if they face some exhaustion with only the 9 players. Is those 4 bench players are starters at the Big 12 level.
Yep, indeed. Kansas State's now 21-2 overall, 9-1 in the Big 12, following Sunday's 91-64 win over Kansas down at Allen Fieldhouse. How was their sound system, Ethan? Was it an impressive sound system?
Oh yeah, that sounds Oh my gosh, I couldn't tell if there were actually fans cheering because you can't hear anything. It's so loud.
For me that doesn't count as being a loud arena when you just crank up the volume. There were a lot of K-Staters though, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, I actually talked to 2027 commit Maddie Vickery after the game. She was very impressed with the K-State fans that showed up. She came over from Topeka to watch the game. She was very impressed. I was too. The K-State fans were arguably louder, probably close to 40-60 split. It was nice. Good turnout.
Nice. Well, if you're going to go to one women's game, good luck getting a ticket to Wednesday night's game against TCU, because that place will be packed. If you can get a ticket, I advise you to go. Because at 9-1, K-State is not alone in first place. They're tied with TCU, a very good team with a very notable player, as he will get into in a second. But let's take a little preview of that game Wednesday night, Ethan. And how good is TCU, and what do they bring to town?
A lot of people, of course, so you're going to ask about 2 players, Haley Van Lith and Sidonia Prince. They're a 1-2 punch. Haley Van Lith can do everything. If you like Serena Sundell, you're going to like Haley Van Lith. She's physical. She's aggressive. She can shoot the 3. She dishes the ball out. Sidonia Prince is also one of my favorite centers to watch. You look at her size and you think, oh, she's like Aoka Lee, but she's more agile. She doesn't like the physical game as much. She likes the little 10-foot jumpers. So I think K-State might handle that better than people think. I think Kennedy Taylor can give her some issues with physicality. The other player you really need to be concerned for is Madison Connor, because so much attention goes to Haley Van Lith and Sidonia Prince. That leaves Madison Connor, who's one of the best 3-point shooters in the conference. It's going to be a full team effort, especially on defense, to stop Sidonia Prince, to keep Haley Van Lith out of the paint, and then making sure you cover Connor in the corners when you're trying to collapse on Sidonia. So they're a dangerous team. Defensively, of course, it's hard to get to the paint, but with what K-State's been doing the last few games, where they like to speed up the tempo, I really think that could be a big thing for K-State in this game.
Well, adding Von Lith to this roster was huge for TCU as a player and as a personality. She's kind of a big social media person, but I look at her and I think she's kind of a combination of Sundell and Gabby Gregory put into one, because she's kind of built more like Gabby, and but she plays like Serena, and I think fans are going to enjoy that. This is a really good matchup. I naturally would prefer K-State having Aoka Lee, but they won't. But the team I watched on TV today and you saw in person, brother, they can beat anyone when they play to that character, shooting it really well from outside 3-point line and sharing the ball like that and defending and causing turnovers. There are going to be a lot of teams. They got to bring that to the court on Wednesday, don't they?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And we can look how it started with Colorado. I had a lot of people were upset with the result of Colorado, but imagine halfway through your work week, your whole schedule gets screwed up and you have to rework it while everyone else is on this. It was going to take time, but this team is quickly adjusting to life without Aoka. And we had some positive news that Lee could be back, or they're thinking she'll be back for the final 3 regular season games. So there is a line that if you can get to that line, you're feeling good. It's just one game at a time right now. I think this team's doing a really good job at that.
Yep. And now they hit this important stretch. And after the midweek game, they go to Stillwater to take on a pretty good Oklahoma State team and a former K-State staff member leading that program. Pretty interesting. But this team is that was such an emphatic win. And as you know, we talked about before we started recording, KU's middle of the pack this year, maybe lower half, but that's not a bad team. And to make them look that silly was impressive.
Yeah, like I said, you hold their leading scorer who's averaging 22 a game to 9 points. That's impressive. Ziana guarded her most of the game. Ziana shut her down. I mean, having that lockdown defender, it's going to be big against TCU. I guarantee you it's going to be Ziana on Haley Van Lith. This isn't new for Ziana. She shut down Caitlin Clark as a freshman, and she keeps doing it. If she keeps that up, that'll be big against TCU if they can get Ziana defending like that again.
That's why she's kind of my favorite player. She just does those things that make your team better. And it may not show the stat sheet, but she makes your team better. Ethan, thank you very much. Just any final thoughts on where this K-State team is? And they have to be just feeling really confident. Coming off that Colorado loss and now playing the way they are, they got to feel pretty good about where they're sitting.
Yeah, I think they're ready for TCU. It's going to be a good matchup. It's crazy. You look at it. I don't think K-State, before the Iowa State game, all their victories were by 10-plus points. This team hasn't faced a lot of close games, but I don't see this TCU team coming in and blowing out K-State, and I don't see K-State blowing out TCU. I'm shocked this game's only on ESPN. I think it's not. I think it's actually televised. It'll be probably one of the best. It will be the best game in Bramlage this season. It'll be the most hyped game. K-State's 14-0 at home this year, so got to bring it.
Well, brother, I am showing it only on ESPN Plus, which is very
wow. Yeah, that is sad.
This is my problem. I mean, people have talked about it. They schedule out football and decide every network, pretty much every time slot within 2 weeks before tip off. Well, why not do that? Or kickoff? Why not do that with basketball too?
Yeah, because the Iowa State game was hyped before the season. That's why it was on ESPN. Then Iowa State kind of fell off. It was still a really good game, but yeah, no, this TCU game, because it was scheduled so early in the season, it wasn't, I guess, good enough for national television.
Yep. I hope maybe that gets adjusted. We will see. That's it for this edition of the Powercat Podcast. The double Fitzgerald coming at you. Ethan does a great job covering Wildcat women's basketball for us at Go Powercat on the message board. If you are a supporter of women's basketball, signing up for GoPowercat.com unlocks his coverage, and he does a great job. Brother, I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And that'll be it for this edition. We'll be back later in the week with more episodes of the Powercat Podcast.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.